if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. Skottie O'Mahony. I'm the creative director for Bankview.
And Skottie, you are in charge of a team. You said 30 people.
Yeah, about 30 people. Right
Can you describe a little bit how you got here? What's the journey that Skottie's taken to get to this position?
This position is very different from my other positions because I'm used to having sort of global teams and a lot more people on my team. But this opportunity came about, and I decided to get a little more hands-on. I was at the director level before, and then I joined this place as a associate creative director and moved into the creative director role. But it's been nice because I get a chance to do some more hands-on stuff.
Right. So along the way, you suddenly realized you were in a leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
Explain a little bit about that moment when you realized, oh my goodness, I'm in charge of stuff.
That probably happened when I was actually in publishing. I was an art director for many years, and so I managed teams for magazines. And those teams were a little different because there was people that were full-time, but I also hired a lot of temporary help because there was photographers and illustrators and stuff like that. So it was managing sort of a different type of creatives. Then when I moved into the web space at like Amazon, it was a lot more user experience and usability people and visual designers. So it was a very different mix of people. Later in my time at Amazon, we got into fashion. So it was kind of fun in that space because I was hiring art directors and copywriters for fashion and stylists and hair and makeup people. And so that was a whole different set of creatives. And now this new space, I'm actually managing a lot of copywriters, user experience people, user research, and I also have mostly visual designers.
Great. So we'll get back to the hiring process
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit because I'm interested in that. But you are obviously in a position where they're looking to you for leadership guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me a little bit about how you lead, your style of leadership, and maybe how you've developed that style.
Mm-hmm. I'm a very casual person. I like being friends with the people that I work with. I kind of consider them my family. If you're on my team, I'm very passionate about my team. I'm very protective of my team, and I'm very transparent. I mean, they know everything there is to know about me. I actually, at Bankview, at the place I'm at currently, actually did a presentation just about me that I was asked to do that sort of explained my background, explained sort of how I got where I got, where my inspiration comes from, stuff like that. And now I'm actually asking each team member to do the same thing, to share with the rest of the team to sort of understand what their background is, what makes them tick, because I think that's really important for the rest of the people in the team, and it'll help the team dynamic.
That's a really good idea. I like that. I may use that. So that's a fantastic way to create empathy. How do you do the day-to-day empathy creation amongst the team members? Because obviously that's an important component of good design leadership.
I think that the biggest thing is I'm very approachable. I make sure that early on I had just went out and had coffee or drinks or just walked around. We have a lake right by us. So we walked around a lake just to get to know the people on my team so that they felt comfortable talking to me. I don't see myself as, someone who's a hardcore manager. You must do this, you must do that. It's more, I'm a partner. I'm the person that's there to remove roadblocks. I'm the person to help you in your career. So I think they recognize that very quickly. My feedback and reviews and stuff like that has been very, very much in that regard, that they feel that they can talk to me about anything, and that if they have a problem, that I will definitely address it.
And is that something of the Skottie personality, or is that something that you had to develop as a leader?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, managing teams at Amazon was extremely stressful because just because the industry was really new, and so things were moving very, very quickly, and everyone was very stressed out, and you had to find a way to sort of balance that stress. And so I think it was then that I recognized that just pushing them harder and harder isn't necessarily going to get me better work. Getting a little bit of a better sort of perspective on what their needs are, that actually got me further. Understanding, what their strengths were, understanding what they actually wanted to do, because some people were in roles because they wanted to get a job at Amazon. not because they wanted to be in that role necessarily. And so when I found out, that maybe they wanted to be a user experience designer versus a visual designer, I just worked with them to ensure that they could actually meet that goal. So that's kind of one of my focuses, is actually getting people to achieve what they want to achieve in life.
So it sounds like you are very sensitive to how to develop talent within your team.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about how you curate your team, find the right team members, and put that together.
I think the biggest thing I look for when I'm hiring new members is what's missing from the team. I look for someone who has some talent or some background or some experience that the other people on the team can learn from. We just did a recent hire. We hired 13 people in the past 6 months. That was a big jump in just the amount of talent that we had at Bankview. And what I was looking for is people that had experience in responsive design, because we didn't have that on the team. I was looking for people that had user research experience, because we didn't have that on the team. And people that had different background, like illustration or video, those sorts of things, because it's areas that we would like to grow in, but it's still in its infancy. But I figured if I could get people on the team that had that experience, it would help the entire team.
Great. So in your own experience of becoming a leader, do you think that's been a very deliberate path, or was it somewhat random?
I think that part of it came out of the fact that I think I'm a good designer. I think I'm a strong designer, but I think I'm a better mentor. I think I can recognize what strengths people have and really push them to really become much better designers. I think it's just a knack that I have. I kind of get excited about sort of seeing people do something that they never thought that they could do. And also get them to think differently. I had one woman at one of the places that I was working. She was working on an app for the first time. And she was really struggling with this, because it was the first time she ever did mobile, and she just didn't know how to start it. And everything started looking like everything else. And I said, design this if this was your app, not following the brand guidelines, not looking at anything else. And the next day when she came in, she had a smile on her face. She wasn't stressed. She was all excited to show me. She had 3 ideas, and it was just sort of tapping into a different approach to things, just to de-stress them. So, and the app was extremely successful, and, she continues to do apps. She actually moved straight into the mobile space. So
that's awesome. Can you maybe think of how your team might describe your style of leadership?
Irreverent. I'd say approachable. I wouldn't say I'm calm under pressure, but I'm also very vocal. And so I'm very deliberate in what I do, and I think that for the most part, I'm just there for my team. I think that's sort of what they would say.
Does that deliberate approach also translate into how you think about your future?
Very definitely so. I think that I've really found where I enjoy being in terms of my career. I really don't have much interest in becoming a vice president or some sort of higher role. I like where I am right now because of the fact that I can actually make a difference in the people. When I was a director, I found myself a little bit too removed from the designers and wasn't able to really get out of them what I wanted to get out of them, because that was in someone else's control. And it's not that I'm a control freak or anything like that, but I like being able to guide them and help them and mentor them. So.
And where do you get your guidance and mentoring from?
Oh, I've had so many mentors. I mean, one of my absolute favorite mentors was a non-designer. It was at Amazon. Her name was Gianna, and she is amazing. I mean, she came from the business side and the marketing side. And at Amazon, it was very difficult to get more creatives, because creatives are sort of a subjective area, and the value of them is very difficult to monetize. And how she came at it was, we have to find a way to monetize design. And once we sort of found what the formula was to monetize design, and that was mostly through testing, showing if we made this change from a visual perspective or from a content perspective that actually performed better, then it sort of proved our point and it allowed us to get more headcount. And she was extremely hard on me, but we're best of friends now, kind of like sister-brother relationship, and she managed me for 5 years and definitely one of the best mentors I've ever had.
Amazing. Good. Think about the team that you have right now, and think about where they might get external guidance beyond your leadership. How do you encourage that, or how does that happen?
One of the things I really encourage my team to do is to not look for mentorship just within design. Because I think it's interesting to understand the other disciplines that work in conjunction with design. Because if they understand those other areas as well as they understand design, or at least what they need from design, then I think it makes them a better designer. So, so I encourage them to just have coffee with a developer, or with someone that's working in user research, or even someone that's in HR, because they have some really valuable experience that can very definitely affect how you manage people and how you actually interact with people. So
right. The world of design can be quite stressful sometimes. How do you find balance or calmness and relieve stress in your life?
My other life is as a daily hybridizer. So I'm in the morning, I'm pollinating flowers and taking photos, and on lunchtime I'll actually run over and do stuff as well. And in the evenings, that's what I do. I water and I garden. So that's my de-stressor for sure.
Good. Do you do things at the office with your team to find balance as well?
We actually have a very social team. There's a lot of beer 30s that have different themes, and we go out for lunch. We'll have brainstorms or projects that we'll attack. We have new t-shirts that we put out every quarter, so the team will participate in designing new t-shirts. So we just had a sort of a luau type thing. So I mean, we have a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great group. The sort of mentality there is kind of like a startup, and people are just very active and very much friends. So.
Great. If you think a little bit about the skills, the soft skills, the hard skills that you're looking for in new team members and existing team members, can you be specific about what you're looking for?
I think the most difficult thing to train is soft skills. I think especially with creatives, you're either going to be a fit or you're not going to be a fit. And in a very short period of time, if we've hired someone, they may have interviewed perfectly, but for a couple of weeks, you can tell whether or not the soft skills and the dynamic is going to be a good one. As far as the hard skills are concerned, I mean, that's something that you can very easily interview for. It's much more difficult to interview for soft skills. So.
And when you find somebody that may be very strong on the soft skills but doesn't have the hard skills, how do you make up that difference?
I would say one of the biggest things that I run into right now is I come from a more traditional graphic design background. So typography and composition and those things are very, very important. And that seems to be lost in a lot of the training these days, because things are definitely sort of, web focused, code focused. And so when I'm getting a lot of young designers that have no concept of how to even kernel a word, and so that's something that as soon as I see that that sort of shortcoming, it's something I really press for, is that, okay, I will be completely militant in making sure that they know how to kern stuff properly, because it just makes things more readable for the user. And I'm all about the user. I'm not about making things pretty for other designers. I'm all about making things usable for the customer, because that's what we do. That's what we're here for.
Right. And to those young people coming through the ranks, approaching positions like yours in the years to come, advice for them?
I would say don't be sort of hidden. Make yourself known. Get to know people. It's amazing how far just grabbing coffee with someone that you don't know goes. Making connections in the industry. and making connections outside your discipline, because you never know where a lead is going to come from. And whatever you do, don't burn bridges, because this industry is a very small industry, and it will come back to you for sure. I've seen people get burned, but I've fortunately not burned anybody. So I've had a lot of blessings in that regard, in terms of people giving me leads and connecting me with other people, and finding designers for my team. I mean, I've actually found most of my designers via Facebook.
Wow.
So posting a job and people telling me, oh, I've got this great friend, you should check them out. So, there's other ways of finding people to build your team, but just stay connected more than anything.
And then final question, if you think about how quickly things have changed in our industry in the last, say, 5 or 6 years, do you see a similar rate of change? And if you do, what kind of change do you foresee?
I think kind of the sky's the limit right now. I mean, there's so many, every day, you jump online and you see something new that you never thought existed, or you didn't know existed because it didn't exist. I mean, we've got everything from like 4K TVs to digital paint that can actually, eventually it's going to be able to like show images, so you'll be able to paint walls. I mean, you never know what's going to happen these days. People are so innovative, and they have access to so much information that innovation can move a lot faster. So I'm just excited to be alive right now, because I mean, it's a great time to sort of experience new stuff and not to be afraid of it.
Yeah. Good time to be a designer.
Very definitely so.